Hello interwebs, it is I, Hewlett, David Hewlett here with another email of awesome awesomeness. This is the audio version of my email of awesome awesomeness, so you don't have to read it because I will do that for you. And I'm sort of mixing it up today, so bear with me. It's a little different than I would normally do. I'm going to start by saying this is a whirlwind of innovation email of awesome awesomeness because, as I said, I've been doing some playing. As usual, I'm going to start with the audio version for your listening and eyeballing pleasure. And then I'm going to try to take a little different approach to my email of awesomeness this week. As I want to tease out the longer sections, the longer stories that I've been working on. And then what I'll do is I'll link to the rest of it, to the full thing over on techbandits.org. And my hope is that this just makes it, the email itself, just a little less sort of lengthy and intimidating. But of course, I was just looking at it and, well, I failed this week anyways. It's tons of stuff. And there's just so many good things to share. Like I say, we're living in an epic epoch of tech and science, and I can't wait to share all this stuff with you. So that's what I'm going to do. First thing is I wanted to knuckle down and figure out how to get some money coming in for Tech Bandits so I can I can keep focusing on this science and tech stuff. But I don't really want that to cost you anything, because the whole point of this is to get this out to anybody, whether you've got money or not, whether you can support or you can't support. I don't want people trying to support if they can't and putting themselves in trouble and stuff. So I thought, how can I do this in a way, like grown-ups do? And so I started looking into affiliate links and different ways of trying to apply sort of a business lens to this stuff, because it's kind of a little bit of a geek pleasure for me. I enjoy listening to my business podcasts, my business porn, as I call it, all about how people are making this stuff work. And so I started trying to figure out this affiliate link stuff. I'd only be recommending things that I either love and use myself, or at least things that I am familiar enough with to be able to recommend it. So I'm hoping that won't be too obnoxious. So I started out, my first obnoxious approach is my money grubbing scheme, as I call it, or money grabbing scheme, is I thought what I would do is I'd share a link to affiliate, Amazon affiliate links to the batteries that I use. So I thought, well, we all use batteries. We're all, we all like our tech stuff. So we're probably going to need batteries. I tend to use these Energizer rechargeable ones or the non-rechargeable ones as well. I try to stick to the rechargeable ones because I just feel like it's such a waste otherwise. And these are the ones I've just, I've tried a bunch of different ones and cheaper ones and stuff like that. I'd love to, if anyone's got any suggestions on them, let me know, because I'm happy to send you to cheaper ones. But I just find these ones are the ones that work for me. Point being is, the hope is that people will hit the affiliate link. They'll buy the batteries that they need anyways. It doesn't cost them any extra, but we might get a few cents out of that. So I'll link to a page on techbandits.org where you can actually do that. And I'm just going to keep trying that. If anyone's got any suggestions or if any of this is becoming, onerous or obnoxious in any way, let me know. If you've got sponsorship ideas or ingenious business plans for me to pursue, please let me know. This is sort of part of the fun of the experiment for me, is the idea of moving this into that sort of businessy kind of approach as well. So I'm sort of excited about that, got to say. What a week! Let's get into this. It all started in fine form with some great 3D printing tech banditry tech support. That's a mouthful. 3D printing tech banditry tech support. It wasn't really tech support. This wonderful kid Mal and his fabulous family, they've just got themselves this Elgoo printer. Not affiliated, but now I'm going to feel paranoid every time I mention a product. Although I will say I'm looking into getting affiliated for this, because I was very impressed with this printer. It's a beautiful looking thing. Anyways, so he's got himself this Neptune 4 Plus printer, really big system. I was really quite impressed with it. I was pretty jealous, I got to say. So I stopped by to help them with a bit of 3D printer troubleshooting. So this is a very new printer, and as such, they're it's that bleeding edge thing where the software isn't necessarily caught up with the hardware they've been making. All right, so I have to click on over here to my techbandits.org, where I will continue this story, Tech Banditry 3D print troubleshooting, and I will just continue the story from there. So as I said, Tech Bandit Mal and his family bought this impressive new Elgoo Neptune 4. Like I say, jealous. I'll be sort of trying to have to swallow my envy and get down to some troubleshooting for them. But I get there, I get this fantastic lunch, this salad, one of the most delicious salads I've ever had, and a goodie bag. I show up to geek out with this kid, I get fed like a prince. delicious treats. I got some very odd chocolates. I have chickpeas covered in chocolate, which I'm not sure that I like or not, but I still can't stop eating them. They have a weird, almost like, it's what I would imagine a vegan Malteser would be, if that makes sense. Maybe Maltesers are already a vegan, but yeah, so just a lovely surprise to get this. I think Mal was honestly pretty sorted already. Like when I showed up, I felt this kid knew his stuff. He was working his way through stuff. There were some things we needed to look up, but I got the sense he was okay. I think he just needed a thumbs up from someone who wasn't a parent of his. It could be another parent, but I think kids sometimes need that. They just need like a, yeah, all right, you're cool, whatever. So, I'm thoroughly jealous of this thing. I'm looking into actually affiliate links for this because I'm looking to get a resin printer anyways. I was very impressed with this thing. I thought maybe there's a way I could figure out that side of stuff. But I choked back my tears of envy and we started going through a few pointers. Things like locking down the initial printer settings, which is, it's just difficult when the printer is so new. So it didn't even have a profile for it on any other program except this clunky old thing, Cura, that it came with. I mean, Cura's not a bad program. It's just that it was an older version. So we were trying to figure that out. Also, the other thing that my biggest thing with 3D printing is if you can get that first base level printed properly, you're halfway there. So I gave a few pointers on how that was done with his printer and stuff, just making sure the bed was leveled and maybe slowing the print down to start just so it gets a nice layer in there. But when it came to talking about where to look for help online, that is where I made an interesting discovery. Because I discovered that Stargate is of no interest to this young tech bandit, except for the fact that it meant that I knew a couple of YouTubers that he'd heard of, these sort of 3D printing sensations. Like Uncle Jesse, who's just fabulous influencer in the 3D printing world and does some fabulous YouTube videos. And of course, the Hacksmith, which everyone under the age of, well, actually everyone just loves. And this kid was no different, just absolutely freaking out that I knew James. I mean, these are the real movie stars of today's. I mean, for tech bandits, from ages, I mean, I'd go so far as maybe 30 and down. These are today's movie stars. You know what I mean? I just feel very lucky that Stargate's allowed me to meet a lot of them. I mean, that was my in for this stuff. And you think about it, like as an actor, I just have to show up on set. I have to, stand in the right place, not bump into the furniture and say my lines. Today's influencers are doing everything. I mean, I started going through thinking about what they have to do. They are researching, hosting, writing, directing, producing, editing, marketing, distributing, handling all of the consulting stuff they do, the promotions, the speaking engagements, the merchandising. I mean, the fact of the matter is, these are incredibly well-rounded and vast skill set that these new movie stars have. So, needless to say, Mal and I found ourselves with some questions about slicers. I'll get to slicers in a second. And of course, I made a very big deal of making sure that I tagged anyone who could possibly be impressive to him in my post. So I got Uncle Jesse and Hacksmith in there, and I suggest you check them out as well. A slicer basically is the software that takes a digital model, like what you see, that cool looking cartoon thing that looks like the thing you're about to print. And it allows it to be printed layer by layer by the 3D printer. So you have to take this beautiful 3D model and then split it up into little tiny layers that the printer can lay down that basically melted plastic is what it's using. I use a thing called the Prusa slicer, which I really enjoy. It's been great for me. But Uncle Jesse has recommended that with this Elgoo, that Mal uses something called Orca, which apparently will work better with his sort of bleeding edge fancy Elgoo printer. Phew. Jealousy. So if you want to get a deeper dive into slicers and that side of the 3D printing process, I found a great article. It's all 3DP's. Great. It's just a primer on slicers, which you should check out. I got a link for that, obviously, in the email of awesomeness. And if you want to know about the printer I've been drooling over this whole time, then check out the video that I've included, which is Uncle Jesse showing all the secrets of the Neptune 4 Plus and the Max. Oh my God, they're just huge. They're huge. I mean, you print an entire helmet. I mean, which I think is what Mal wants to do. Anyway, so thank you to Uncle Jesse and Hacksmith, and also Brian 3D. Is it Brian V3D? But Brian 3D, again, I got links in the email. He's just got great list of resources there videos that he's put together that are really, really wonderful when you're stuck with some of this stuff. And then of course the 3D printing nerd himself, Joel Telling, who also got back with some suggestions as well. So thank you all of you for your fabulous videos. Everyone should go check them out, and I hope that they keep up their fine, informative work, because I intend on riding their coattails of success for quite some time now. So, all right, now I'm going to go bounce back into my email, because that was on the site, the other one wasn't. And then we're into the fact that I went directly from Tech Banditry tech support to my first official in-person escape room, which is so weird because I was in Cube. You know, it was a movie that was basically credited with being one of the reasons why a number of people started escape rooms in the first place. You know, my little sister Moira and I were huge fans of Myst and Riven and that whole puzzle thing. And when I started thinking about that, I started looking into that. There's this beautiful Ars Technica interview that they do with the guy who created, one of the two brothers who created Myst and Riven. Really interesting, like, history of it. And I was reminiscent. I was enjoying it. I mean, I've completed tons of kits and puzzles and caper escape type games, both either with the Tech Bandits or just with friends or by myself over the years. I've even filmed in a couple of escape rooms as well on sets with acting gigs. But Sunday, first time I actually got myself locked in a room. So it was quite a treat. And now I'm going to go to the website to pick up my first escape. So my first escape. So I was smart enough to surround myself with some smart, savvy humans like my son Sebastian and Jane and a few of our more intelligent friends. And because I'm someone who can get lost in a box, basically. So I wanted guarantees that I was getting out of there, that I was gonna escape. And I got to say, I was a bit nervous. I was talking to my friend who we went with, and we were just a little nervous about this whole possible real human interaction thing. We were a little worried that we were going to get like some sort of actor doing scary stuff or something, because it's supposed to be, it was a horror themed room. I just wasn't sure how I was going to deal with like the whole performer angle on it. Turns out, didn't have to worry. There were no performers. I've actually since learned that actors are actually quite expensive for these things. So a lot of these rooms, the reason why they don't have actors is because actors cost money. And then on top of that, you know, you've got all their time. You've also got all these insurance things and salary stuff. So apparently a lot of these places will do their best not to have actors unless they absolutely need to. So our mission was to rescue an FBI agent who had been captured by his prey. And this is this cannibal, sadistic serial killer in the style of, you know, a Hannibal type thing. And so we had to rescue this poor guy from a locked oven before the killer enjoyed him as a Sunday roast. It's pretty grisly stuff, but it was all done in a very sort of silly, approachable way. Horror theme, of course, worked for me because I am, you know, horror is something else I'm sort of rather obsessed with. Watched another movie last night, actually. But this was kind of fun because it was sort of silly and thrilling and funny, and our friends' sort of horror-worthy screams were probably the scariest part of it. Honestly, I mean, the game itself wasn't that scary, but my friend's screams. She's got to scream like straight out of a Hollywood horror movie because it was fantastic. That was the scariest part of it. And it was a 2-room escape. It sort of kept us guessing the entire time. We did eventually rescue the agent, though I think they might have been a little singed because we some kind of a timer went off, which I think indicated that we'd run out of time, but we managed to sort of throw it all together at the end, got this body out of the oven and ourselves out of the room. And you know, the game masters seemed pretty friendly and happy about it. So they gave us the victory basically. So as you may or may not know, I've been doing a lot of research into escape rooms, and, you know, so I found this whole collaborative puzzle-solving thing rather fascinating. You know, it's a room full of smart, funny people, and trying to figure out various puzzles and clues. Absolute treat. I even managed to help a few times, actually, which was kind of fun. I mean, I'm not sure how much help I was. Most of the time I spent basically trying to pick the locks, because I was like cursing the fact that I didn't bring my lock picking kit. But it was sort of a concerted effort on my part not to participate in the whole intellectual Olympics of it all. I really wanted to experience it, and I wanted to see what was going on. I loved seeing how people responded to it, and you know, so it was kind of fun. The key that I've heard, which was very apparent in this, to a good escape room team is calling out the clues. Like when you come into a room, you may let everyone know what clues you see, so everyone can be working on the puzzles, and that that just makes things a lot more easier to sort of coordinate. I would also recommend, this is something else that came up which I thought was interesting, was I would recommend that if you think you're about to trigger something or you're about to unlock a puzzle or something, call everyone over, because then you get to share that experience of like things happening and doors opening or whatever it is. Even if it's a total miserable fail, that just adds to the fun too. There's something nice about trying. I found that we went off and did different things sometimes, and in hindsight, I kind of wish we'd sort of like huddled together, at least even just at that little moment when things actually happen. I think that would sort of add to it. And even if it was a miserable fail, we'd all enjoy that as well. So, of course, the funny thing, hilariously, as I say in the email, all of this planning goes out the window when you've got a pitch dark room, a couple of horror themed scares, and a couple of teenagers. It is chaotic, not good. Chaotic, great. Actually, it's really, really fun. But here's the thing I found was that today's kids are kind of built for escape. I mean, for the most part. I mean, certainly in our case, they've been playing video games since they could hold an iPad. And today's teens are so exceptionally good at puzzles and the concept of working these things out, and what's needed to complete the various tasks, because they've watched a lot of this stuff happening on YouTube before. They're also remarkably good at communicating because they're used to working in teams in these games, in these sort of collaborative games, whether they're puzzle-like games or horror games or just shoot-'em-up games, really. I mean, the reality is that they have an innate understanding of this stuff. So I think they're very, very good at it, and I can see why they enjoy it. I just spent most of my time just trying to see how the puzzles worked. I wanted to know how everything worked. I want to know how the mechanics worked, because I want to start designing this stuff as well, and I want to be able to help students design this stuff for other students and teachers and stuff. So I'm really looking forward to it. Another thing that hadn't occurred to me was the idea that you get your cell phones taken away. So you get your smartphones taken away when you get to the escape room. To get locked in a little room, you are without technology for like an hour and 20 minutes, which seems, I get panicky just at the thought of it. I can't imagine, I could never imagine the kids actually doing this, but they happily gave them up. And I think that really added to this sort of the digital detox part of it, really added to that aspect of the escape room experience. I had never really considered that before, and I think that's definitely something that I will add to the merits of this kind of approach to when it comes to the teaching and the learning stuff as well. It really helps with your the team spirit. It keeps the team connected and focused on what they're doing, and not having the phones there to distract us. I feel like it just let us sort of focus on having fun and kept us more. It just made the collaboration a little easier, and also just the bonding. It was just kind of fun. We're goofing around. No one's distracted by a phone or any of the outer world stuff. It was fun. It definitely added to the immersive element of it. Of course, as soon as I get home, I start looking up all the puzzles. I drew them all out carefully, and then I was like, I wonder if they exist anywhere. And of course, I found all of them. Like this company basically just gone out and bought an escape room kit. It's got all the puzzles. They slapped them all in the places, just screwed them to the wall, or whatever. Basically, there was, there's definitely some customization, of course. There was some fun stuff in it, but definitely these are obviously sort of standard puzzles that are done. And there was one actually that we were lamenting. One of them was broken. And they fixed it just by like writing the clue on it, which I thought was a bit cheeky. But again, the point I guess is that these are businesses. They're not. I didn't get the sense these were passion projects for anybody. This was just a way of doing business. It's downtown Toronto. I think it's aimed at sort of a touristy market type thing. Probably not aimed at the big escape room fans. But I just really wanted to figure out how these mechanics worked and get ideas on what sort of what is the standard for these things. I'd love to be able to come into an escape room discussion with Tech Bandits kids or even the university kids and have like a series of the puzzles that they can then try themselves, like the actual mechanical puzzles. They can see how they work. They can see, how they could customize them for their own use and stuff. The thing is, it's really hard to find information about that because, of course, escape rooms don't want to give their secrets away. They don't want to ruin it. If everyone knows how to do that, I think it's part of the reason why they don't have cell phones is they don't want people walking through with a cell phone and give away all the secrets, and then they go, I did that. I think kids are really bad at that right now, of saying like, I I've already done that because they watched someone else do it, basically. So I could see what that. It's a bit like magicians, I guess. You don't want to give away your good tricks. They don't want to give away their good puzzles. So I also wish they had more flashlights because, and I probably annoyed everyone by saying, I wish there were more flashlights way, way too many times. But my frustration was not even so much that I wanted to help solve stuff. I just wanted to see how it all worked. And it's a pitch dark room. So you got kids flashing around with their flashlights. You're like, give me a damn flashlight. I want to see how this mechanism works. So anyways, I thoroughly enjoyable experience. I soaked myself in hand cleanser afterwards because I couldn't imagine how many other people have been, fondling all these various different things. But it was interesting. And as I say, I've got a link to the escape room distributor, the actual kit that you can buy, because they really didn't do a lot of customization. Some of it, little customizations here and there, but for the most part, it looks like it's just designed for them. So now I don't want to spoil the mechanics of escape rooms for people, but I also really want to start compiling a good resource on escape rooms and escape room puzzles and all this kind of stuff. So I've started the ball rolling. There is a link on techbandits.org that I would invite you to check it out. And I've just started putting together, compiling all this stuff. If anyone has any suggestions or contacts or whatever, anything that you think would help for this, please let me know. It'd be very much appreciated. And I got to say, what's fantastic about all this is the whole experience has left me with, a hunger for more. It's just strengthened my belief that escape room learning should be standard in schools and classrooms around the world, as I say. All right, what else we got here? Enough about escape rooms, you're saying. Yeah, probably. Then why not fire up your Minecraft and start exploring proteins? What, Preppy? What are you talking about? Well, huge shout out and congratulations to Dr. N, PhD. This is the big bio brain. He has a podcast. He's one of my biology go-to guys. And he's also behind the brilliant, I don't know if anyone's seen this or not, but there's this brilliant tardigrade maze. He's literally printed out a little tiny maze on a microscope slide. That's on our 3D printing Discord channel. If you want to go check that out, again, links are in the email or on techbandits.org. And he's just released this thing called Proteins for Minecraft. It's PDB2MC. Wow, there's a name. And what it does is it takes this awesome RCSB database. It's called the Protein Data Bank. And what this is just a data bank of all the models that have been created using, was it X-ray crystallography, NMR, I'm not sure what that is, cryo-EM, which we've talked about in the past. And these are just like incredibly detailed examples of the proteins and what they look like. And what this program that he's done does is it allows you to take these models, for mere mortals like us who don't have all this fancy software or the understanding on how to use all this fancy bio software they've got. It allows us to import them into Minecraft. It's sort of a fun, friendly, familiar Minecraft world. And I cannot wait to give this a go. So please go check that out. Again, links in the email. And then to finish up, it's always a good way to end these things, I find, is with robots. So let's finish up with a few old and new robotic friends. And I've got a link here to the Five Nights at Freddy's because I've always felt that building friends has got to be more rewarding than building friendships. So from Disney's latest Cutie, which I'll link to as well, to the horrifying DIY world of Five Nights at Freddy's, let's explore the groundbreaking AI and affordable technologies that could bring animatronics home, shall we? I don't know whether this is because Five Nights at Freddy's came out like at the end of last year, or I think probably more likely it's because of these recent Disney announcements from their robotics department. They have an extraordinary robotics department. Robotics, and they call it Stuntronics as well. They have the most extraordinary Spider-Man animatronic, basically, it's just a robotic human that they put in a Spider-Man suit, and it just does the same stunt over and over and over again. And they don't have to worry about anybody doing themselves or anyone else any harm. They've just got this robot that does it for them, and it is ridiculously lifelike. Without knowing this, I'm sure I would have just assumed it was a stuntman doing it. But there's been a real sort of uptick in interest in animatronics. The one that caught my eye recently was this goose-like robot, that really cute little robot that Disney's come up with. That I think they're trying to look into ways of integrating these into their parks and stuff. And there's also, it's kind of a creepy looking thing actually. It's very French somehow. It is an anime inspired robot that is supposed to be helping out in hospitals in soon. And it's this weird sort of big-eared, almost rabbit-looking thing, which I've got to say I find it a little creepy. I'm not sure I'd want that thing wandering down the hospital hallways at night, but I see what they're doing with it. The idea of coming up with a system that can help in situations that can co-work with humans. So I'm including a ton of links to all these Disney things that they're working on. There's some really cute stuff. There's some really creepy stuff. Those goose robots, though, that is very, very interesting to me. And I'm really interested to see how they integrate it into their amusement parks as well. The other one that caught my eye was NASA, who's working on this humanoid robot. They call it like a superhero bot. This is the Valkyrie. And it is a modular human. It is a self-contained, it's got a battery pack on the back, it has interchangeable arms and such, but it is a particularly unthreatening. I've got to say, of all of the designs of these things, this one looks like one that I could see sort of wandering around innocuously behind us while we're working and stuff without creeping us out too much. It looks efficient, it looks not too over-designed, and it just seems like a very practical humanoid robot. These things will be sent out in advance of human astronauts. I say, why bother with the human astronauts? I've said this for ages. I think robots should be doing the exploring and we can do the looking, because we are fragile little bags of water. We do not belong up in space or on radiation-soaked planets. Let's let the robots do that. I'm happy to throw on a pair of headset and some kind of a headset and see what's going on that way. More than happy to do that. Don't need to be there myself. It just seems like a waste of resources and money and such. Let the billionaires do that. But just the design of this thing was so strangely sort of practical and somehow, I don't want to say comforting is the wrong word, but it just, everything sort of fell into place. When you see this thing, it looks like what you think a helpful robot should look like. And I think you should check it out. And then, of course, we dive into the creepy DIY Five Nights at Freddy's stuff. It's not just Five Nights at Freddy's. There's a number of different influencers out there on YouTube building these crazy, beautiful things. There was some cosplay stuff. I sort of avoided that. I just went with the straight robotics and animatronics. But I invite you to check out the nightmare world of DIY Five Nights at Freddy's. There is some really creepy stuff out there. There's also some really fun VFX stuff that people are doing for films and stuff, where they've had to create sort of animatronic props and characters for that. But, I think I will be sharing the stage with a lot more animatronic robots in the future. It's not just going to be those little gray aliens from Stargate. I think there's going to be a lot more opportunity to work with some fine performances. I can't wait for the first Oscar to go to a non-humanoid robotic performance. I'm guaranteed they'll get one before I will, I'm sure. And then I started thinking about, I want to build my own robot. How do I get my own robot? And I went into the world of animatronics, of DIY animatronics, and man, there are some creepy things out there. So I highly recommend you go and check out my list of links here, because there is a ton of stuff. There is the Five Nights at Freddy's stuff that they're doing is extraordinary. They've got this eye system, which I'm familiar with because it was on one of the other robots that I had. I managed to break it eventually, but it's this system of the eyes blinking and moving that are creepily real, and it even has these cool sounds to it because it is very robotic, and it is very Five Nights at Freddy's, and people just seem like obsessed with the concept of building themselves a robot that's going to scare the crap out of them sitting around the house. So there you have it. So I shall leave you with that link of both links of horror and joy. There's some really cute little things there that you can 3D print and put together yourself. There's also some absolutely horrific ones. I'm not sure why people would want those sitting around the house, but anyways, I may be one of those people. Maybe my horror obsession will lead to some kind of animatronics of some sort. So go check that out. Techbandits.org. There's many ways you can help over on that site. You can get some merchandise. You can get we can get some love from Patreon. There are those affiliate links that I'm working on as well. And if you've got any suggestions in that regard, please obviously let me know. And I will say, until we geek again, be brave, be kind, be brilliant, cheerio, and huzzah!